Hey guys, welcome back to Stacking Pennies. Corley Joy alongside Ryan Flores here. It's going to be a huge show breaking down all things COTA. Check us out on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast. But Connor Zilisch coming in studio in the Nonsense Garage. Talk about his debut weekend and much more. This is Stacking Pennies.
Stacking them deep, selling them cheap.
It tastes like gasoline, rubber, and victory.
We're just out here stacking pennies.
And we're in it. What's up, guys? Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Corey.
How's it going, buddy?
It's good, man. My allergies are killing me.
Dude.
And Austin, the wind in Austin yesterday made it even worse.
That's what everybody was talking about. It's windy.
It was.
So windy. It wasn't breezy in the war room at RWR, though.
I thought the pit sign was coming down.
I mean, they showed it on the broadcast. Those are massive flags, like Talladega-sized flags, like when they have in 3 and 4, straight at erection, straight out. All the I heard one audio from might have been, was it Brandon Benesh, spotter for the 3? It's like, we're on a scissor lift up here. I feel like it's gonna blow us down.
Oh yeah, there was times when it got bad, but not windy in the RWR war room. How was that sitting in?
They have a pretty cool one. It's a wall full of screens, but it was actually, I'm not gonna say it was nice. It was not as miserable as I thought it was going to be, because it is amazing the difference of stress between knowing that you're not racing that week versus having to prepare and having to just dive in. Because when you're in it, when you're just like in the cadence of the year, especially going to a new layout of a road course, there's no amount of information that you don't think is going to make you better. So you can spend 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day looking at SMT, track elevation, topography graphs. I mean, I've looked at everything for these road courses when I would go. And that's also why I've gotten substantially better at them. And then in addition to hours on the simulator, I mean, I think Cody was on there for 3 different blocks for 2 or 3 hours apiece. So
the stress is not talked about enough. Like the
Sunday night when I'm laying there on the couch, I'm like, man, my adrenal levels would be maxed.
Cortisol.
I'd be freaking gassed. I would, and having to do your post-race notes and then wake up Monday. I say all this like it's a bad thing. It's what you sign up for, right? But
no, it's a good thing. But when you, like the tart would say it, you don't know how effed up your job is till you stop doing it. Then you stop and you go, oh, wait a minute. This is what normal feels like. Like I get
weird.
into that swing of things with, like we go through practice and then you get to the racetrack, through the off season, I feel really good. I almost eat way less. I don't know if I stress eat during the week or what, but I'm just like, man, my whole demeanor and everything changes when the season starts, and you forget about the stresses of executing a race.
Yeah.
And then you're back on, and you're like, oh, shit, okay, here's this. Okay, this is you go right back into that fight or fight mode.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty quickly.
In that. No, you stay in that for 36 straight weeks, and it takes a month after the year's over to just get your parasympathetic nerve. What is it? Parasympathetic?
Yeah, dude, I got New Jersey public school education. You're going
to calm down. Because I was like, man, I actually feel kind of like not very stressed out.
Yeah. Actually
at all. It's kind of bizarre. I was outside Sunday. We go to church Sunday morning, practice T-ball with Levi out back, had a blast. But it was probably Thursday. And there's like a little bit of like depression that sets in, a little bit of like FOMO, a bit like, man, I wish I was going down to Austin. Qualified 4th there last year. Had a great car. Felt like we could have executed a good day there. Got crashed turn 11, but nonetheless.
Then you see Chase Elliott get spun out turn 1, you go, nah, I'm good.
Hell of a drive, by the way. I feel like he was the driver of the day. We'll get there. But listen to a podcast. I was listening to Preston Morrison, shout out Preston Morrison and Pillar Church out in Scottsdale. I listen to those guys every week. And they were talking about contentment. And contentment is something that that's my wrestle, especially when you're comparing yourself to the 0.0001%. You're always looking at a Larson. You're always looking at a Tyler Reddick. You're always looking at a Denny. Not only of their abilities, you're looking at SMT, but you're looking at the motorhomes they have and just the things that those guys have earned in life. And inherently, you do the same job as them, so you're trying to work for that. And it just racing in general, I guess maybe any sport, there is a large discontentment gap, and that's something I always just try to balance.
You're never content because you're always chasing the next thing, right? And then I'm actually reading a book on this right now called the Perception of Money or something like that. But I told this story on another podcast I did last week about stoicism, but it's like, you just keep moving the goalpost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like in this book, it talked about the guy that's playing in the MLB at league minimum, making $500,000, really good money.
Yeah.
But he's on the same team as Mike Trout. He's
Right.
making $430 million over the next 8 years, right? So he's broke compared to him.
Right.
So if he measures himself to that, it's not good. Well, then Mike Trout gets in a room with hedge fund guys.
And he's broke.
To them. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, the old story of the two authors at the billionaire's house, and he says, this guy made more money than yesterday than you'll make on your whole book, on your whole novel.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who wrote Catch-22 says, yeah, but I got something he doesn't.
Contentment.
I know what enough is.
Oh.
Right? So knowing what enough is challenging.
So in that podcast, person was talking, he was using the analogy of train tracks. And when you are on the train track of God's will, right, that's where you're supposed to be. But it's easy to look at the other train tracks, train going faster, train going the opposite direction. And I've been in seasons of life where I've forced my train onto the wrong track. And the closer that I got to, is weird, the closer I got to what I always worked for, a good deal, a actual race car driver pay, quote unquote, right? A 3 or 4 year long-term deal with a team that you had a lot of equity in. I was like uncomfortable with that because I had this weird feeling that I wasn't just on the right track of life. And the closer I got to it, the more money that I made, the more anxiety and stress that I carried. And literally when I was driving in my truck listening to the story, I run over, like I did a railroad crossing, and it was like the Holy Spirit was like, yo, this is the track that I have you on. You're not going to Austin, Texas this weekend. You're on the track that you're supposed to be. Just be diligent. So that gave me a lot of like not comfort, but just contentment. And because right where I've got a lot of great things I'm working on behind the scenes, and I feel like I'm where I'm exactly supposed to be. So,
well, and you fight so hard to keep the train on the tracks and worried about it derailing. Then it gets derailed, and you go, "Oh, wait a minute, I wasn't
on the right track anyways.
That wasn't as bad as I thought I was."
Yep. So I would just encourage people that whatever that track is in your own life, that's where the Lord has you. And if you're feeling stress and anxiety, you're probably not on the right track. But let's shift gears to Austin because it was a hell of a weekend. From the Xfinity Series race all the way to obviously the end of the Cup race. But before that,
another
I caught a
road
stray.
course. Yeah, you did.
I caught a stray on like Thursday.
You shot a stray earlier in the week.
Who did I show to?
At Ryan Blaney about the Chipotle Bowl.
Oh, and I thought that was free advertisement for the Ryan Blaney Bowl. Apparently he did. He took it a little bit salty.
But you said salty and beefy.
And yeah, it was a little bit of a salty bowl. If you feel like your sodium level's down, then go get a bowl, and it'll perk you right back up to where you need to be.
So you shot one across the bow.
I also said that I gave it a 7.7 rating, which might have been a little low. Is that what he was upset about?
And then you get one shot at you back.
From Chase.
Man, there's 40 guys in the field. Why you got to take a shot at my guy? Give my guy a break.
I'm giving your guy free food review on his bowl. I don't have a bowl. Chase Elliott doesn't have a bowl, but Ryan Blaney has a bowl. So I hope you went and checked out a Chipotle Bowl this week. But I caught a stray. Oh my God. Let me just hang on before we roll this. If you're watching on YouTube, this is where you want to watch the show, whether it's on Tubi or YouTube. But thank you for listening on Sirius XM Channel 90 or your podcast. But there is a lot of great clips. I caught a stray from Chase, and it took me a minute to understand it. So Chase and Blaney and Daniel Suarez
and Chris Bell
went to Mexico City to do a whole media tour, obviously promoting the race here in a couple weeks. And they're standing, what do they call the wrestlers down
Luchadors.
there? Luchadors. So they post a group pic. They're all wearing the Rey Mysterio masks, and there's this yoked guy in the middle. And there's Chase. So Chase posts it. There's left to right, his hands up, so he's insinuating he's the guy on the left, which he is. Blaney, and then he's calling me the guy in the middle, which I appreciate that. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I don't look like that fella. Nor do I have underwear like that guy. And then there's Daniel, then there's Christopher Bell.
Tighty whities.
So who's taking the belt? All four of those guys together won't even put a bruise on that fella in the center. So I got a little bit of action on that on Wednesday. That was fun. And then flip through the video of Ryan Blaney hitting the ropes. He had to break a rib. Dude, folded up like a lawn chair.
That's like one of the deals where you see the guys that are 250 pounds do it and the ropes move a bunch, and then you're 150
So I did that
pounds.
deal with AJ Styles a couple years ago when we went to Barclays Center up in New York. And he hits those ropes like they're bungee cords.
Yeah.
And you just run up nonchalantly, hit the ropes, and every vertebra in my spine from my earlobes to my butt cheeks cracked. And the rope didn't move at all. You can probably put the tape in here for the fellas to look at. And Ryan hit it with the side. I know that had to hurt.
Well, he also had the chuckas on, so he kind of tripped before he got there, so he didn't have full power.
It was a tough look. Tough look. But, hey, kudos to him for hitting the ropes. He was full commit. Unfortunately, the rope was full
I'll
commit
tell you
back.
this. If you got to go do a media tour in Mexico and do a bunch of fun stuff, Blaney's the guy you want to do it with. He gets into that stuff. He's so much fun.
Yeah, man, you got to get into it.
I saw a video of him, like, pounding on the pads in between them when they were wrestling. He was into it. But that looked like a good time for them.
That hurt more than what he led on to, I guarantee it.
No doubt. But you can't show weakness, man.
No, you can't. I mean, hey, you rub some dirt on it, keep it moving.
So on to COTA. Now that we put a bow on all that.
Mm-hmm.
New layout, I thought was awesome.
It's great.
What did it look like from home for you? On pit road, I don't get to see much. So I really like this fact that you get to see all the in-cars, and then I could kind of tell you what was going on at the track.
Well, you and I talked on the way over here. It is amazing that I genuinely watched how the 12s day went as much as I could on broadcast and timing and scoring. When they're pitting, what they're doing, what their strategy is. And I had no clue on the nuances of your day. And I think as a competitor, myself included, behind the wheel, you think that everybody in the grandstands and everybody watching at home knows exactly what you're up against that day. Nobody knows. And frankly, nobody really cares except for like your grandparents that are watching on your in-car camera. Like that's really the only people that are that invested.
Well, your whole circle is your team that's telling you what you did, and everybody that is invested into your day. So you think that everybody just does that.
Exactly.
It's the old,
not the case.
It's the old adage, the older I get, I used to be worried about what people thought about me, and now that I'm older, I realize no one was ever thinking about me in the first place.
Nope, they don't. And it was really cool to see all of that. I was scanning. I had one earplug on SVG, scanning him. I had one earplug on Connor Zilisch, and I had his in-car camera up as well, having that right front down on lap 1 and then rallying back to the 14th before he got crashed.
You got that lap 1, turn 1, Rick? I didn't see what happened to Zilisch. I just saw
his heart was.
Oh, dude, first off, go back.
Hang on.
Do
you anticipate anything different than Carson Hocevar?
I was like, I bet Hocevar puts it out in that red paint. I was watching this thinking that. Here he goes. And then Ross must have listened to all the podcasts this week where people kind of had Hocevar's back, and he was like,
I'm going to show him something.
It, I'm going back to the
I don't know where he thought he was going to.
To the front, dude.
It's what Daniel said. Where are you going? I'm going to the front. So he was right in the middle of the 11. Connor Zilisch was right in the middle of the 11, and he got kind of sandwiched in between two cars.
Okay,
the
had a 54 went down. Airborne over the 11.
So that's what it was. It was the 54, the 87, the 11. You can't really show. There's the yellow car, the white car, then Connor, and he clips the left rear of the 54 there. So as much action as you would anticipate, lap 1, turn 1 at COTA. Awesome chase from the same place, gets turned around, and he was on a mission.
That sucked for him. Well, it sucked for the 87 too, right? Because they all qualify well, getting to good spots.
Dang, he got him good too.
That's so. I heard a good interesting quote last night. He said, "You expect the 77 to do that because it's an Aspire car, and he's trying to make something happen." And I feel like we had expected Ross to do stuff like that when he first got in the series because he had a chip on his shoulder, never really got an opportunity, gets this great opportunity. But man, that was a tough one.
That was a tough one. The 1, the 9, the 87, the 11 all get damage in that incident. Certainly changed the complexity of Connor Zilich's day, but listening to him, how cool and calm and collected he was, and he had Stephen Parsons was on his radio. It was cool to hear his voice. I don't know who his main spotter was. Maybe it was Stefan. But he just kept charging and kept working his way. And, dude, he passed lots of cars and he followed the 12. He got behind the 12, and both of you guys were making your way towards the front on that first run. So that was fun to watch, fun to listen to. SVG came out of the box, drove right to the lead. And he looked like the favorite at that point in time in the race.
You had an awesome tweet about OnlyFans subscription
Dude,
to his footwork.
I'm watching SVG's feet, and I'm just like, I think a little bit of it was unneeded. Like, there is only one person in the field, guys, that drives like this, and it's that fella. And just laying absolute heaters down. Left foot gets a little bit of brake pressure to make sure the pucks are up there, because way down into the technical weeds here, when you run across the curbs like that, it shakes the rotors back and forth and it pushes the pucks back. So you need a little bit of a brake tap to get the pucks and the brake pads right up against to where instantly you have pad pressure.
Yeah, because what will happen is when you go to the brake pedal without doing that, you'll initially have nothing, then you'll spike brake pressure and lock tires up.
Exactly. And this is art. This really is, because he said he's even tried to left foot brake. He goes to Martinsville, goes some places and tries to left foot brake, and he said it's like trying to ride a bike backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, this is honestly, with the transmissions and the clutches and everything, the way it all works, it's unnecessary. You don't have to do it.
No.
But it's what he knows how to do, and he's been doing forever.
I believe that was why he was so dominant in the Xfinity car, because that left foot on the clutch mitigates that wheel hop that Xfinity cars are more prone to, where these next-gen cars, you just lock the rear tires up. So that little bit of clutch that he's used to doesn't have the advantage like a Marcus Ambrose used to. Same thing, right? He was a right foot braker, left foot on the clutch. With the old Cup cars, you would wheel chop, and he would just settle it down with the clutch.
So what happened to Shane in his day? I saw that he was up front. He didn't have good restarts.
He had zero fire-off speed, and he kept complaining it feels like the front tires have no air in it. Like, what do you call it? Overroll, maybe.
Okay.
And I bet you his restart retention for the day was like -9, -10.
You just can't get back there unless they start wrecking.
Right. And he got buried to 4th, buried to 6th. Money restart gets buried probably to 8th or 9th. Then he worked his way back to 4th or 5th, maybe 6th.
We should have got him in here today.
Dude, his Mondays are
did you text him?
Stacked.
Did you text him?
I text him. I text him every week just to check in on how he's doing. But they had my man in meetings, like post meetings, key partner meetings, from 10 o'clock in the morning until about 5 o'clock at night on a Monday.
Really?
Yes.
That's where bad ideas come from, when you have that many meetings.
With the same people.
Because you just get bored about being at a meeting and you start coming up with weird.
Literally, it was like, I run out of ways to talk about understeer.
Tight, shattering, understeer.
Not turning. Front's not positive enough. What else do you want me to do?
God, that would put me right to sleep. That meetings all day make me way more tired than digging ditches all day. I'd just rather dig ditches.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm not built for it.
That key partner meeting at whatever time they do it, it's going to be interesting this week when Ross Chastain sits at the same conference table as Chase Elliott. I don't know if Clyde comes into those or if he just zooms in or not, but I'm sure there'll be a little bit of tension.
Yeah, a Bubba
there.
Wallace situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of the race, he just pointed. The one car just pointed Chase by. Just go by.
Yeah, because you're going to get stuck out in the petunias.
Oh. Yeah, which
it's not often you hear Alan Gustafson get on there like, "Hey man, time to do something about it."
It's tough because with the new rule this year of losing your playoff points, right? Retaliation. That's why like Hocevar can just be aggressive all the time, because what are you gonna do? Wreck them? Then you lose all your playoff points if they deem that you have to sit out.
Well, I believe that Denny, and there are some guys that are very tactful in terms of how they deliver some retaliation. I could tell you somebody that did not have very much tact in their retaliation is fire up the video, Danny. For some reason, the 2-car in between practice and qualifying attached an anger to the back of their car, because they were a top 10 car in practice and they qualified second to last. So he's back here in the weeds. The 10 runs him off, takes the lane, and the 2 right rear hooks him down the straightaway. Let's see. I mean, you're just scrapping, clawing. This is lap 1. maybe lap 2.
No, it's later than that.
It's single-digit laps.
But it's
maybe 3.
No. It's probably closer to lap 10.
Okay. Sure. Regardless. Okay. That's a bit of an aggressive door slam from the 10 and probably deserves to get a door slam back, to be honest with you. Not a great look. Not a great look. And obviously NASCAR frowns upon right rear hooking.
Yeah.
Is it comparable to the 9 and the 11 situation a couple years ago at Charlotte?
I think it's a unique situation. I think it's more comparable to the Noah Gragson, Sage Karam situation. It's not as egregious as what Noah did, and that wasn't a suspension. That's just, I think it'll be a fine, maybe a points fine. And
so was the intent that Chase had, it was reactionary from when the 11 plugged him in the fence, the 9 hooked the left. He probably even had an argument saying his toe link broke so he couldn't hold it straight.
I don't know if it's track situational. I don't know how these calls are made.
There's a lot of times that I don't even think they know how these calls are made, to be honest with you.
Wow.
It's a little bit of a wild, wild west type situation.
It stinks. What I'll say, like for Austin, right?
Don't put an opinion on it.
No, I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
What I'd say for Austin, like, I'm sure that he regrets doing that.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of frustration the last 2 weeks.
Leading and getting wrecked.
Daytona 500 gets wrecked. In position, puts himself in position getting in Atlanta, gets wrecked. They're having a dismal day at
anticipating going to COTA and being in contention.
Being great. You run with the squirrels, you get your nuts broke, and that's what was going on there. And was it unwarranted by Ty Dillon to do that? Yeah, to run him off the track like that. Yeah, but I'm sure Austin would love to have that one back, and whatever happens this week happens.
But when NASCAR's looking at the tape and looking at SMT, because we can all be certain that that's what they're doing right now. The inputs are very similar between the 9 car and the 2 car in those similar incidents.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
Do they factor in speed you're going? Do they factor collateral damage if there's more cars in the wreck at Charlotte than there was only a 1-car wreck here?
Both cars finished the race, so
I would rather NASCAR in this instance, and even potentially going forward, rather than having to sit there in the conference room on Monday or Tuesday, if it appears intentional like that, right rear hooking somebody, just sit them on pit road for 2 laps. Then,
well, that is a thing that you can do. Yeah, because then you have a chance to come back from it.
It's not like it's in turn 6 that's a half mile away from you. It's right there in front of you. Make a call.
Make a call, right? What did they do with turn 6 this weekend?
Not make a call.
So, like, that
Run
was
the tape.
confusing.
I've got my gears are ground.
Turn 6,
about
6A,
this.
6B, and track limits.
Have they called anybody in turn 6 yet?
We get 1 penalty, your day's over. And what you're doing right now, we can beat the 88 straight up. So.
Yeah, I know. I just been around a few guys that aren't paying attention to candy stripes in turn 6. They're just jumping to the red asphalt and staying inside of them. So I'm very unclear as to what we're supposed to do.
Well, and so are we. So we double-checked with NASCAR, and track limits are not applied at turn 6 as you set up for 6A.
They made an announcement like lap 20 on our. Like, Timmy came over the radio and was like, "Hey, just so you know," and I was confused, but
just so you know, we changed the rule halfway through the race.
So you say you feel pretty strongly on track limits. What is your thought on it?
Even when I was a competitor, going back to Watkins Glen, Sonoma, there's not much runoff because there's walls and there's grass right up at the racetrack. So there's no really. The only time you run off is 4. You go to the left and the wall kind of forces you back to the road. You go to COTA or these FIA rated racetracks with all this runoff, we look like fill in the blank out there running 4 car lengths wide off a 19, off a 20. So that the road course was designed to keep the cars within this certain proximity. Don't tell me we don't have the ability to. We got the ability to have cameras on top of the grandstands and look on pit road to where if some guy retrieving a tire touches his fingertips to the ground for a penalty, but we don't have the ability to go tell if a car can stay on the damn racetrack or not. We look like rednecks.
So you're saying
a prestigious racetrack, one of the nicest racetracks, certainly in our country, but in the world. Keep the cars on the fucking road.
So what would the rule be like?
2 tires on the black at all time.
At least 2 tires on the
or
on the can, or on, like he said, on the candy,
not even
which is red
not
and,
even
red and
optically, right? Because it's just race the racetrack as it's intended, because you have to hit your apex and not run. Just because the cars can ramp over a curb and you can launch them and you just take it doesn't mean that that's what we're supposed to do. Keep at least 2 tires on the racing surface at all times, or else it is a stop and go. It shouldn't be hard. But instead, we say this half rule, like you can run 2 tires on the red and white, but then all of a sudden halfway through the race, we're just going to scrap the rule. And now all of a sudden, guys that are taking 3 car lengths through 6, not even remotely close to where the racetrack's at. What the hell are we doing? Because also it's going to make the racing better when you actually have to stop, lower your minimum speed down, and keep your 4 tires on the actual surface, because it's going to change your entry into turn 6 here if you actually don't just go straight.
Well, the thing is, if you miss the corner, you can just aim and throttle up and drive off, right? There's no, you don't pay the penalty on this. There's track limits. Like we saw Kyle Busch just out in the grass one time. Just looking for grip out there.
Run through the incidents. You have the 99 dropping a wheel, spinning out. There's going to be more implications, I believe, to just that wreck, because there was a lot of collateral damage and a lot of irony in how that wreck shaped up. We'll get there. But run that tape off the front bumper of the 45. The 99 drops his left rear tire off. He should be a car length to the left anyways, versus just dropping his tire in the dirt.
Was he
then
behind?
Fast forward, run me the 11 and the 3 wreck, because this is, let me paint it up before you run it. This is on a long green run. So similar to the corner, I believe it was 8 last year, where everybody just puts their right side tires in the dirt. And when you get a long green run, there's nobody passing each other, right? Everything's spread out. So every car that hits the dust is now just kicking it 4 inches offline. Now you got comers and goers. The 11 comes in, gets tires. He's trying to pass 3 on old tires. Now there's only one racing groove because there's dirt and freaking rocks and grass.
What you're saying real
left.
quick is every time someone dips their tires off, it just inherently affects the cars behind you. Because what I could see was they dip their tires off. Like someone would make all these games throughout a lap, and then they would do someone would do like a Daniel Suarez, and the next car behind you gets that on their tires, they miss it, and then you're gone again by 3.
It makes the racing line smaller and smaller, because there's only a 6-foot wide lane that's not covered in rocks and dirt.
So over the course of a run, as guys do that each lap, it covers the track. And then just like if you're if it snows in your hometown and a snowplow goes, you don't want to get out of the way where the snowplow. So the cars are going through, cleaning it off. You get offline a little bit.
Is racing like he's supposed to race. He's going to pass cars that are on older tires, and he gets in a completely.
You can see it.
Yeah, dude. There's dirt all over the racetrack.
Go back.
So just for the sake of NASCAR not wanting to get in the middle of this track limit situation, there's literally a freaking dirt pile in the middle of the road that inherently changes the complexity of the race, because he drives into the side of the 3 because he doesn't have control of his car, which sets up because the 8 car would have won the race. Because
look at that, dude. You know what that reminds me of? Happy Gilmore. You're gonna need an umbrella and some sunscreen because you're never getting off of that beach.
Well,
that's what it looks like.
You know that meme that like Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know what movie is, he's like pointing like this. That was me in like the war room, like pointing, because it took a minute for Fox to pick it up. Like watch. It's gonna.
But the fact that I didn't realize, I thought Denny just missed it, but he didn't. He went to go fill a hole, and there was nowhere to go.
No, that was the passing zone. The problem is there's an inch of dirt down there, because it shouldn't be, because now there's not even a corner. Guys are just going straight, putting their right sides in the dirt, and then pushing it offline. So as soon as somebody tries to take a passing opportunity, they hit it.
Yeah.
It's absurd to me that we just can't figure out some of the low-hanging fruit here. Keep the cars on a racetrack, guys. It's not hard. Holler at me. What are we doing? We look like idiots.
So speaking of driving off the
now,
track,
let's not take away from the fact that was a hell of a finish.
It was a great race. But you're saying that could clean this up a little bit more.
Two sides of that coin. One, I'm glad a caution happened and it just didn't run out for the rest of the day, because that set up a hell of a battle between those 4 guys for the last 8 laps of the race.
Because the caution was with 17 to go.
Yeah.
So you got back. Would you go back green 14 to go? That's a long time there. That's not like a green white checker.
Yeah.
So it still played out semi-organically. Like it's a longer
You
run.
would anticipate a yellow coming out in that window anyways, right?
Yes.
Had it not, then Kyle Busch breaks a 52 race streak. And
didn't come out. I'm glad one didn't come out with 2 to go and ruin it. Like, I'm glad it ran out.
Yeah.
And everybody raced really well. Like, it was not...
It was fun to freaking watch, man, because...
Chris Bell about cleaned out the 8 car. And he just hooked it right. Like, I was like, man, I wonder what's going to happen here with the 20 and the 8, giving the past history here and just everything that they had been through. Chris Bell on this restart we're watching. Ooh, see, look, he just keep giving him room. But there was one where he was right on him.
I said this in our Amazon call last night. I feel like Chris Bell, and the sentiment was people seem to be showing Kyle Busch more respect on the racetrack and not running into him, besides Carson last week.
And Carson doubled down by putting it on Instagram. Yeah, that one. Oh, he just like, I'm not cleaning him out.
I think Kyle Busch right now is kind of that old hunting dog that's just everybody knows that he was one of the best hunting dogs, and it's like, that dog can still hunt, but don't poke him because you're going to get your finger bit off. And that's literally what 20 is like. I've seen this movie before, and I didn't like it. I'm going to go.
Yo, Chris Bell looked like he looked like my kid when they get like detention last year, and then they showed it again, and he went to go give him a high five. And Kyle just walks away.
Last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was bad. So I was interested to see 2 things. And you don't realize it from watching it, but Kyle gave, Chris Bell a lot of respect into this. He said, man, I was racing him like a d***. He was running him up and down the racetrack, taking away his groove. He said he was really good. I was interested to see if the 20 passed him, if the 8 was going to root him. But
this was about 8 to go, and Kyle is doing everything he could do to keep 2 faster cars behind him. And I almost think that, I mean, he certainly burned his tires off because he faded a bit at the end. But when it got the 24, knew he was just going to let this play out, save his tires a bit to make a run at the 20.
Right here's when you knew he was done. Just gets tight. There was one corner where he gets back to him and he loses. I think it was a
last corner here. So this is coming to the checkered. But before that, just there was these 3 cars, which arguably are the 3 best teams right now. It from top to bottom.
24 and the 45.
Yep. It's hard to argue because the Daytona 500 winners, but also championship 4 teams, and all 3 of those guys, very solid pit crews. Those guys are probably the 3 best drivers that you could probably pin any given week. They're going to be in the top 6 of what you're going to choose. It was awesome to see worn out tires, fairly long run to your point, and those guys sliding around. The 20's looking in his mirror, setting himself up for defensive leverage. The 24's kind of baiting him in to shallow his entry up to see if he can get a run on him on an exit. And the 45 had a decision to make about 4 or 5 to go. He was pressuring the 24 to try to get around him. And you could almost see him decide to let the 24 go, stop pressuring his entries to where the 24 could then go try to attack the winner, or the 20.
Yeah, the leader, yeah.
Then they all can tighten back up, and then the 45 could potentially make a move too. So there was a lot of awesome racecraft to watch if you can appreciate those types of nuances. And there was the redneck in me was wanting the 24 to give the 20 the business in 2020. Smash him out of the way. How bad do you want it?
Oh,
but
boy.
I'm glad he didn't, because the 20 got the lead fair. He raced everybody clean all day. The 20 deserved the win, and I'm glad those guys put on a hell of a race. So,
yeah, it was a barn burner. Back to one thing you said during this, we didn't really cover the 99-87 Rick. I wanted to pick your brain on that because he's under a lot of pressure right now. I think if you see the writing on the wall, there's no bigger Daniel Suarez fans than you and I. And I wanted to pick your brain on this because I felt like you were in this situation last year. You got a young kid that comes in, got a lot of speed, right, with Hocevar. And I saw how it affected you last year. Do you think that this is affecting Daniel, it being a contract year, Zilisch coming, and then he spins out and takes him. It's like, damn it. It was, like you said, a lot of collateral damage.
It's also, I mean, people can say they don't think about it or look at it. You know the variables. You know how warm your seat is. You know the hype. You know all the internal conversations. You also know why they signed you up for a 1-year contract and didn't extend it for longer than that, and it's a prove-it type year.
Yeah.
So you do inherently push a bit harder. You try to take a couple more inches on a apex. You try to squeeze a bit more speed. I thought overall the 99 executed the weekend great. He was the fastest in the first round of qualifying of his group. I'm not sure exactly where he finished up in qualifying, but one instance of lapse of concentration, or maybe he wasn't at that, and maybe he was just pushing. Maybe he hung a wheel off, it got into the rub block, and it spun out. And then not a tough sequence, not a good sequence for Trackhouse. I'm sure Justin probably was sick to his stomach watching both of his cars get torn up, especially when both were in line to have a great day.
Yeah, that was tough when the one car's in the news again. But the SVG, hey, another thing, SVG, him and Allmendinger, they only have 4 more opportunities to make the playoffs if you're circling road courses, right? So that's one opportunity, and these are 3 of the kind of the what would you call them, wild card races.
Yeah.
So now these 3 wild card races are gone off the table for 3 guys to make the playoffs, and you got 2 guys that were in the championship 4 last year that have won the first 3 races. So it's gonna it's early to start talking about playoff implications, but the window's shrinking.
Well, all we're doing right now is talking about playoff points, stage wins that set you up for a playoff run. And I think that if you're a team that's going to be between 16th and 20th in points, you're liking the fact that these guys are guys that you'd expect to win are winning the wild card races. Whether that's, I think a 77 is one of those guys that's going to be on the cusp of pointing his way in. 71, who are some other guys? Maybe Noah Gragson.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Austin Cindric.
Yeah.
So those guys have got to be feeling pretty good. You're going to have to be between 14th and maybe even Bubba, right? Bubba, front row start for his 20. Those cars must be solid if they turned Bubba Wallace into a road course driver, let me tell you. But
Charles DeNike.
Shout out Charlie.
Question of the week Higgy's got down here. Drivers prove that they can race hard cleanly. Is this a trend that you think should continue? Should it be applauded?
I think so.
But
I think that what we all witnessed on Sunday afternoon is how it should be done. Now,
to your point, you said you got some redneck in you. I want to see somebody smash somebody out of the way every now and then.
Yeah.
I think there's room for both, right? Like, I want to see a race where maybe you do smash each other out of the way.
That portrait behind you wasn't painted with my face and your face on it based off of obviously Cale and Bobby and Donnie Allison because they raced each other cleanly.
Damn right.
So
NASCAR
is built on both. A little bit of purist, a little bit of redneck.
That's it.
It takes both.
And that's what I liked about this weekend. It gave you, you can't go full redneck all the time. All right, you got to give some back. So he had the 3, like you said, the 3 of the best guys in the sport, race it out, be clean. I do like that trend, but
give me some redneck.
When it gets down to playoff time, show me some bumping runs.
That's right.
Awesome.
And I don't, we go to a place like Phoenix this weekend. Not going to see very many bumper runs there. The place is a little bit too fast to really feel good about potentially damaging your nose, right? Because it's a heavily aero-dependent track as well. But you never know. Get a little left rear coming to the checkered. Love to see that as well.
So a couple more flowers to give out here at the end of it. Front Row Motorsports, 2 top 10s. Good for them.
I think I would give we giving flowers. Is that what we're doing?
Chase Elliott. Yeah, sure.
I think Chase Elliott was the driver of the day. Somebody also that should get an honorable shout out, who I thought every time I was listening to the broadcast was getting penalized or was spun out, was Alex Bowman. Still drove back to 9th.
Alex Bowman, I think that's his best track.
Dude, I looked at the rundown. I'm like, okay, that's messed up, because last I looked was Alex Bowman had a drive-through penalty or got spun out or something. Next thing you know, he's running 9th.
If you can get the right lane, like I think Noah talked about that. He's like, I just kept picking this lane and through here, these guys would all go there and I'd go here and they'd bottle up and I'd get like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with Blaney. Like we went from 25th to 14th in the first lap.
Yeah.
Just like the right spot, right time, boom, boom, boom. And then that was the good thing though. You could have good position retention, but then you'd have a little bit of a long run and the tires, shout out to Goodyear, the tires fell off. And you had but they fell off not to the point where everybody had to come take them. You had a decision to make. And it was a tough decision. So we saw guys go forward, hit a wall. I was watching Bubba on the first run, and he was hanging with the 45. And I said, boys, I think 23 is about to drop anchor. And they're like, why? I said, I think he's got his tongue out right now, and it's going to swap. I said, at lap 10, I think he's going backwards. And it was lap 5.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, yeah. You can just kind of see.
Yeah.
Like Shane's car's straight, right? And he's going fast, and these guys are, and the tire, he couldn't abuse it. We quartered the left rear on our first run, and
these things are bears when they get down on low rubber.
Do
with
we
the
go
rears,
back
dude.
to COTA? Did the short course save it for you?
Oh, I think it should be a staple on the schedule.
I think so too. I think it was a question mark with the old course and with too long of straightaways, but this short course saved it for me. I think it was great. It's hard for me being on pit road because the front stretch is not a popular place to sit. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's nobody there. But the crowd seemed decent up on the hill and on the backstretch. The track is great. There's a big old, they're like building an amusement park there or something. There's a big old
roller coasters and stuff.
Roller coaster and the go-kart track. And I don't know, man. I really like it. I hope we go back. I like the city.
I like it how the pace laps weren't 5 minutes long too. That was nice.
It was good.
Yeah.
All around a net positive. Marcus, please bring it back.
I believe we will. COTA deserves to be on the schedule.
I like where
Boats and Woes also. You like what?
I like where it lives in the schedule, like the third
agree.
race. Like I'd like to get in. Like it's a good prequel to from a race team side of it to the West Coast swing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You start Texas, then your truck goes to Phoenix, goes to Vegas, comes back. 'Cause California's gone. Let's just call it gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good start to that West Coast swing for the teams, and it's weather and if they dial down the wind a little bit, it's a good place to go.
It deserves a spot in the NASCAR calendar. I agree. And Boats and Woes deserve a spot in this show, and we're going to get to that right after this. And we're back for some Pit Road Boats and Woes. I didn't see a ton of woes. One woe that I saw, though, was interesting, and I didn't really know. I'm curious to see in-car cameras and also hear radio footage of the 42. That was a bit bizarre.
Well, he just missed it. And it seems like it's easy to miss.
I don't think that he just missed it unless he locked the tire up.
Yeah, he locked the tire up for sure. You could see the marks, and he
Yeah, I see that, but like
locks the left front up, gets tight, and just misses it. At first glance, I was like, did the 2-car punt him? But is this in-car?
Yeah.
42's in-car here. Just got a little too much.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a drive-through penalty, right?
I was confused on the rule because I think they changed it recently to where if you touch the box, I thought if you touch the box with 2,
If you have your left sides under the box
and you don't commit, there's no penalty. But if you come down pit road and your right side tires touch the box, then that is a penalty. I believe he got penalized for cutting the corner because he missed the apex of 20. Because I thought that you can touch the box, and then not commit to pit road. And I think that's the rule. I need to check it for clarity. But
so yeah, when I watched that too, I didn't understand the rule. I was like, I don't know that rule because it used to be the cone. If you hit the cone, then it's a penalty.
Yep.
But yeah, it needs to be a track limit rule too, because if he missed it like that and then that was faster lap, everybody start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So nonetheless, that's a woe for sure. That sets you back. It's something our spotter over in that corner this weekend was talking to Ryan about quite a bit before the race. Here's where the box is. This is how you have to get in there.
Well, there's a lot of speed to be made up because it's a long corner and that access road is fairly long, so you have to get to that box with a ton of speed, or especially when you're under a green flag sequence and you're trying to potentially leapfrog guys or short pit guys, that could be the difference of coming out, blending in front of somebody or behind somebody.
Yeah. So the first video Higgy has here is the 48 car. I did not see this. I have not watched it yet. Oh yeah.
His hose is stuck.
Yeah, hose got stuck in the splitter there. Oh, let's see how they react. So that's
athlete Jackman just hurdled that thing.
Donnie Tesser. Alan Holman, he's a stud. We've been putting next to those guys the last couple weeks. Remember, this team was the best team last year throughout the end of the playoffs. They were the mechanics. They won the Mechanics Player Award last year, I believe. So they're a great pit crew.
Dogs.
What happens early in the season, right? Everybody's getting their bearings back about them, and depending on where Alex stopped, the hose throw gets a little sloppy. It's connected. The hose is connected to your hip now, because everybody's changing left-handed. You used to be able to, when you change right-handed and you see the hose under the splitter, you just scoop it out from under the splitter. You can't do that anymore. But without the ride height rules and everything, they don't get stuck under the splitter as much as they used to. Back with the old car, the splitter would just sit on the ground, so you could just drop the hose. You could drop the car on the hose. It's a little bit more forgiving now, but when it gets up into that wheel well, man, you're screwed. And if your guy who's pulling the hose pulls a little too soon, then all of a sudden you're stuck there. You got a 300-pound jackman running at you with the jack
full speed,
face eye level. You're like, oh boy, and you just try to get out of the way and make sure you don't hurt your jackman as well. I mean, that's a lot of mass to be moving. If they hit the hose and go down, that's brutal. But they did a good job fixing that. Like you said, they did a great job salvaging their day. The next one, the 5 car, was a slow one. I don't understand all that happened here, but I know that they have the video of it. I'd like to see maybe a better angle of it. But what I'll say is
multitude of errors here on the stop.
Multitude errors. So something.
Hang on, run it back. I want to time this stop because I was watching this. I was like, oh my goodness.
Something obviously happens on the right front, but Blaine and Brandon Johnson, Blaine Anderson is front changer, Brandon Johnson's the jackman. They are two of the best in the sport. They don't feel bad about it. They obviously nothing
had no indication
makes them feel like the right front's not tight, because you could just go back and while they're having issues on the left rear, we'll get to the left rear in a minute, while they're having issues on the left rear, you would just go back and tighten it if you knew that there was a problem.
25-second stop.
25 second, that's tough under green. But it's
the worst part about it, right? It's not that you had trouble with the left rear going on. That one didn't fall off. It's the one that was done 24 seconds ago.
The worst stops are when they're cross corners, right? If you have a problem on the right rear and then the left front, if you have a problem on the right front and then the left rear, like those are the slowest stops. But yeah, the thing that was interesting to me is like watching it back, I wanted to see, you can see in body language a lot of times if someone feels that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. They'll like get up and you'll stand up and take a look at it, or the jackman will kind of slow down. There was no hiccup on the right front at all. There was no indication from their body language that there was an issue with tightness on the right front. So I'm sure that'll be something that they try to understand better this weekend. But the left rear, from the angle, I can't see it. But there's a list of problems that are kind of pertinent to road course racing. One of them is the detent. So there is a kind of a button on the end of the hub, and then the nut is like a castle nut. It has almost like crowns on it. So if the nut is left loose, but it's past a certain point, like say that it's got to be torqued, maybe if it has 100 pound of torque on it, and on the left rear, say it wasn't over tightened, right? And the left rear at road courses with stopping and going, there's so much left rear load, it'll rock that nut back and forth, and it'll get it up against that detent, and then the metal will dig into each other. And the way that detent releases is that the socket fits over the hub and pushes the button down. Now, if you get to the left rear and that's metal on metal and that nut is pushed onto that button and it's holding it up, you can't hit it hard enough to get that detent to go down. You have to like hit it, square it up, and just kind of keep beating it into submission until the nut goes on. It's something that you see a lot at road courses, Martinsville, maybe Richmond, short tracks where you're kind of slowing down and then using a lot of left rear drive. And it seems to be more of an issue on the left rear, but it does happen on the right rear as well. That could have been one issue. If we run it back, can you just run it back one more time? I want to see if the issue happened after the wheel was off or before the wheel was off. Because that would tell me So they come to the left side, jack it
Pretty
up.
seamless.
I can't tell from this
Yeah.
angle. Yes. So the wheel was already on. So it either didn't pin correctly, or there's something behind. Like when he put it on, there could be something behind the wheel, in between the hub and the wheel. So he had to pull it back off. Which anyway, it's like I look at 25-second stops like when there's an incident with like a plane. You ever hear the pilot when there's like something real sketchy that happens with a plane, but they land and they're like, "Hey, it's okay. Everybody's all right."
Yeah.
When you have a 25-second stop and you take the time to fix it right and the car goes back out there with the wheels tight,
And you have Kyle Larson driving, it's going to be okay.
you're like, "Hey, it's fine." Insult to injury is that there was another issue on top of that they didn't see.
I believe they call those comedy of errors, unfortunately, for the 5 cars. So that's going to be a 2-week vacation for the rear changer and the jackman.
That's going to hurt too. I mean, that's a lot of these racetracks. I had a tough pit stop on our last green flag cycle. I cocked both tires, so they both kind of got stuck in the fender. It was slow. It was like an 11-second stop. It wasn't anything too detrimental, but it's just social equity, right? You don't want to lose. You don't want to put your team in a spot where you feel like you're behind the ball going to the West Coast, because you haven't really done the way the pit stops are at road courses. They're not like
Money stops necessarily.
Listen, when we get to Phoenix and Vegas, Martinsville, that's like pit road. We're going for
Yeah,
it.
the races are won or lost on pit road.
Here, Atlanta, Daytona, road courses, especially challenging setups. Some guys can go faster than others. So you just don't want to put yourself behind when you get in the meat and potatoes of the pit crew season, which is coming up this weekend, because, man, you ride the wave of momentum, and it's real. It's a real thing.
Momentum's a cruel mistress. It either
It is.
comes
And
fast
it goes.
or it goes even faster. Somebody else not eating very much was Bradley after that race. I've been there, but he pulled the tape. I was cramping up worse than I've ever cramped up last year. My cool shirt wasn't working as well. My abs. I couldn't stand up. And
So I'm going to let you explain yourself here, because forever, if you're cool, nobody wore cool shirts. But is this because of the next gen car? Is that the only difference? Because like 6 years ago, nobody had cool shirts. So now if your cool shirt goes out, they're getting attention on pit road. So is it something that you guys have just gotten soft,
Yeah,
or
maybe
is
we're
this
just-
car
maybe
just
we're
that
just-
much hotter?
maybe we're just,
Well, it's probably the car's hotter, right?
there's and Danny Hamlin and I years ago got in a spat, right? It's like he took it as a shot, but the teams individually are in charge of insulating the cockpits. The difference between a well-insulated cockpit and a bare bones build this thing how NASCAR gives you out of the box is probably 25 degrees. So if your headers aren't insulated well, if they're not wrapped, if you don't have air moving around, who knows, right? There's a lot of variables that go into it. I would imagine, especially with the old car, a Gibbs car had more cooling knickknacks in it than a go fast car, right? So I'm sure that it was a lot cooler in there. Not that it was cold, but the difference in that was a lot. Still, this car is hot. And also, going from last year's layout to this year's layout, you don't get that long back straightaway to just breathe, catch your breath. You're in a corner all the time.
That's crazy. The cool shirt makes that much of a difference. Because, like I said, it's like, what happens when the cool shirt fails? Does it just shut off? Does it turn into hot water? Does it boil you?
You could if you feel it getting hot, then you just shut it off.
I remember the first cool shirt I've ever seen. Duncan Molesworth, shout out Duncan down in the Caribbean. He runs he's got a tour guide down at St. Thomas now, but he's who I moved down here with. And I was spotting for him at Hickory, and he was running a late model. And I got this cool shirt. I'm going to run it. It was the Fall Brawl, 300 laps.
Mm-hmm.
And he put the box was big. It was like a cooler, and he put it on the right side. Well, lo and behold, it was over top of the exhaust.
Yeah.
And it was about lap 50, maybe 75. He's like, this cool shirt turned hot. And it was like bullying him. And I said, that's what you get for running a cool shirt. Keep
Pansy.
digging.
Yeah.
But man, that was, I just remember, like, the technology has come so far. Now it's a staple. Everybody has one. Everybody's got the little plug hanging out the side. But yeah, that's that's relatively new thing in the Cup Garage in the last 5 years. So it's interesting to see when somebody's goes out that they're getting medical attention. So I guess, and you kind of answered the question, is it the next gen car, or is it because guys have gotten so used to having it that they're bodies aren't prepared for that when it
probably
breaks.
a combo of both. You know, you're driving the hell out of it, especially what really gets you is those long runs where there's no caution. Just get your heart rate down and it just stays up 170, 165, 175 for 45 minutes straight. Try going for a run for an hour at a 160, 175. You're probably going to want to lay down. And also, I think it's a matter, too. He might have got out of the car just fine, and then as soon as the adrenaline drops, it's like, oh, boy, somebody hook a bag up to me.
Is there any truth that you just got a text message from a young man who made his first start that wants to come here and talk to us?
That is true. Connor Zilisch is going to join us right here in the Nonsense Crowd here shortly. So before he gets here, though, let's knock out some Penny for Your Thoughts questions.
Okay, let's see him. Pull him up, Danny. Oh, first one. I can't read this. Skip. Oh, boy. Too small. Can't see it. Oh, boy.
You can't read that?
Go back to make it smaller.
Get some glasses, bro.
That's big. Okay. Now he's just messing with
Jesus.
us. First one comes from Knop.
No wonder why I can't hit a lug nut.
252. Skip, do you ever get jealous of those IndyCar crews that just kneel in place, then chuck the pick on? Sometimes. I train, I've gotten pretty close over the last decade being at Penske with our IndyCar guys. I've done some IndyCar pit stops. I'll give you a little tidbit. When I'm done with my NASCAR tenure, I'm going to go change tires in the Indy 500 at least once.
Are you? That'd be cool.
I want to do it. Talk to the coach, Sean Reineman, quite a bit about it. I think it's sketchy as hell that they sit out there. And
which tire would you pick if you could pick one?
Outside front.
Yeah.
But I'd probably do the outside rear because it's one where you kind of got to run out there. But I don't know. I'm right front. Like there's a guy named Trevor that changes fronts. He's on the 2-car now. He's won a lot of races. He's like my idol, dude. He's a stud.
So you're not jealous?
No, I'm not jealous. I just think those guys are cool. And
respect them cats.
I like it. I'd like to do it. And I think it's sketchy as hell that they sit out there because those things got wings, dude. You got nowhere to go. If you're getting hit, you're getting
filleted.
Dude, yeah.
Filleted open.
Yeah, at least with like a cup car, you could jump on the roof or on the hood.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Brad at Pocono, like Ogles ended up like all the way up the windshield on the roof. Like the only thing that's going to get you is like the antenna or the roof rail.
Hey, if that thing gets you in the wrong spot, it's not going to be a good day. Not going to be a good day. Next question.
Next one. Jeremy Barbary, what is the other tape line on the steering wheel for?
I'm glad you asked. You or I both can answer this, but normally the two separate lines are how much you have to turn for pit stops. People that don't need duct tape, you just know that when you're on the right side, you turn to the right because the way the tire sits in the wheel opening, when you turn to the right, it falls out easier. Makes it easier of a job for Ryan and his compadres.
I wouldn't say it makes it easier. It makes me able to do my job.
Yeah. Is it that much?
It's that much.
If you turn the difference in 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock on the right front?
That is a measurement that is one of the most important parts of my week.
Okay.
And setting that tape mark, it's something we check again and again. And it changes week to week, and it changes setup to setup with Drew. It is
caster and all the
it's
things.
Super important because the clearance is so tight, and with these next gen cars, the wheels seem to be rolled further forward in the fender. So this was never really an issue in the old style cars until everybody started cheating with skew.
Yep.
Because your rear end would get to a place and your front end would move it around to get through the OSS. Well, now it just seems that the next gen wheels are just rolled further in the fender, so everybody has to turn a little bit to the right when you're on the right side and a little bit to the left when you're on the left side. But there is a fine line, and it's really important to the driver. And when the driver doesn't get it right, you can tell right away.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Next one. Both Corey and Skip, what's your pre-race playlist? This comes from AZ_Matty B. You said you've been on Big X the Plug lately.
I have been on Big X the Plug lately.
Strong. What's
the biggest, the largest? He's from Texas. He just got arrested last week. Not a good week for Big X.
We're not talking about his personal status. We're just talking about the music.
I think his music slaps.
I don't even know what that means.
I think that's what the young kids call it. It's good.
I'm old.
I generally try to listen to like low key music before the race because you're inherently going to get ramped up. So I like some Bob Seger.
I don't, I don't listen to much, but like before the race, I don't ever have like headphones in. But I will say at practice, our gas man, Chris Conklin, shout out Chris Conklin, has got us on some like techno. I think it's called Big Booty Mix. We've been listening to Big Booty Mix 25.
Is that what the difference is for the 12 team?
I think so. Well, that's like we get there. So there's two distinct practice groups at Penske. The first group is the 22 and the 2 car, and they listen like country. And then
I don't feel like you can
how
do
you
a
gonna
fast
pit?
stop listening to Tyler Childers.
So then we come in, and then it changes. And Lackey, the gas man too, always says, "I can tell when y'all are practicing because it sounds like 2 robots out there making love."
Randy Cox told me a while back. He was my crew chief at BK, but he's still one of my all-time favorite guys that I've ever worked with. Worked with Red Bull and their height of it and the whole thing. And he wasn't like a hardcore like rock guy, but he would listen to it like if they're on the plate, and he goes, the car knows to go fast if you're listening to hard rock. If you play Big Booty Mix or some country slow lovemaking music, it ain't gonna go fast. And
Big Booty Mix is I'll introduce you to it. It's a jam. It's a mashup. It's really good.
I'm not gonna sit down and listen to Big Booty Mix with
No,
you.
you're not gonna be able to sit down. You're gonna have to go run. Put it out during a workout, and you'll be pumping iron.
All right, we'll see.
That's it. That's it for Penny for Your Thoughts questions. Anything grind your gears? I think we already covered that.
Track limits grind my gears this week.
My gears are fine. The allergies and the pollen in North Carolina stink, and they suck. We got to watch some short track racing. Shout out to Blake Barney, Smart Tour Race. Who won the Cars Tour Race? Higgy?
Connor Hall.
Jade Avedisian and Connor Hall win the Cars Tour Race. Really fun to watch on Flow. We sat there on Saturday night and just kind of flipped through Flow. Watched a little bit of Hickory, watched a little bit of this, watched a little bit of that.
And also, on Xfinity race on Saturday, back to the front, Connor Zilisch coming to the studio, also in the Xfinity Series race.
Shout out.
He's a dude.
Quaffle.
Carson Quapple.
Dude, he's a real one. He wheels everywhere he goes.
Yep.
He was driving the hell out of that. You could tell he was kind of outmatched by Zilisch, but even when Zilisch got by him, he was still pressuring him. And
Carson Quapple outmatched the rest of the field. Unfortunately for him, he's up against Connor Zilisch. I saw a crazy stat between Carson and Connor. They had 12 of the fastest laps of the race.
Wow.
Collectively.
That's great.
Like nobody else sprinkled their name in that mix. It was just either fastest lap Carson, fastest lap Connor.
Wow.
Those guys are that's like the next gen of in the cars when you see all the turnover young kids coming in that have nothing to do but race and jump in the simulator and drink kale shakes. That's what's coming, buddy.
That's good. Hey, that's what we did when we were that age. That's what I said to you this week. I said I've realized that we're getting old because we say now, well, that's all they have to do. Well, yeah.
That's all we had to do, too.
That's all we wanted to do.
Yeah. Ain't nothing different.
Now I got to go drop a kid off of first grade.
Right.
Now I'm mad at that guy. But, it's just new levels, new devils, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to talk to him. Let's get him in studio. Coming up, Connor Zilisch right after this. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Connor Zilisch, right here in Nonsense Garage, buddy. You had unfortunately a great day going. Unfortunate ending. You landed about midnight last night. You did dorm bumper clear this morning, and you were so kind to make your way over to Concord and jump on with us. So first off, thank you. Second off, you look tired because I can only imagine not only two races kicking their ass on Saturday in the Xfinity race. Congratulations about that. But the attention and the noise and the hype, like, was it a lot or was it just like background noise? What'd you think?
Yeah, it's background noise. I hear it, I see it, but to be successful, you can't let it get to you. It's tough because it's all you hear. It's all like fans that come up to you, they talk to you, they want to, tell you how good you are, and everyone wants to tell you how good you are, and I'm just waiting for someone to come up to me and say, damn, you suck.
Well, you haven't given anybody any reason yet to say that.
I'm excited for it.
Eventually, when you do, they're quick to point that out.
Yeah.
But also, what you're wearing on your head, right, is a gift and a curse in a way, because it puts even more of a magnifying glass on your head. So what's it been like just working with that Red Bull brand?
Yeah, it's so cool. They're unlike any other sponsor. I get so many resources, and it's more than just like a sponsorship. Like it's you're a part of a family of athletes that are all at the top of their sport across the world, and getting to meet all them and understand what it's like to be, a world-class skater, a world-class snowboarder, world-class fencer, whatever it may be. It's pretty incredible, and to have them back in NASCAR is big for the sport, and really big for Trackhouse and me.
I was watching, before we get to your Cup debut, let's just cover Xfinity, because I was watching that race, and I thought it was really interesting that you and your teammate were going, that Carson was able to hang with you. How has it been having a teammate like him and being part of Junior Motorsports?
Yeah, it's been really fun. Dale is such a cool team owner, and just a guy that I can lean on and talk to. He's so down to earth, and it's been cool getting to work with him and everyone at Junior Motorsports. Carson, he's obviously a really talented kid that is coming up kind of the same path as me. It's his first year in Xfinity, and he's going to be really good this year. And it's cool to have teammates that we can all push each other to be better. And it's sometimes you want to have teammates that you're better than, so you can make yourself look good. But for me, where I am, I want to have teammates that are pushing me to be better. And I definitely have that this year with Justin and Sammy and Carson. I think we're all going to be able to push ourselves to be better, and I think by the end of the year we're going to really show it.
How much does Dale Jr. text you about speedway racing? Like, to give you tips and tricks and stuff?
No, he loves giving advice on speedway racing, especially. He sat us all down at Daytona the day of the race and was like, "Hey guys, this is what you got to do. I know your teammates, but
did he pull out some old film like, watch me here?
No, but he did give some examples of him back in the day. And
gotta build that cowl pressure. Put that left front fender right on that right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And he loves to help and give advice, and that's one of the coolest parts about him is just, it's tough, right? He grew up in the sport. It's all he's ever known, and he still wants to be involved, and he still loves it. So glad I get to have him as an owner and get to learn from him, and meet him is the coolest part, right? It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's pretty crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and just getting to call him a friend is pretty cool.
I saw his Twitter, was it on Saturday night, and he posted a picture of his to-go box and wherever restaurant they were eating.
Yeah, with a Budweiser.
He brought his own koozie. I said, "Dale, did you bring your own koozie?" "Yeah, I got a bunch of them, man. I just leave it there." That's just such a Dale Jr. thing to do. But you've been integrated in this Trackhouse system for the last year and a half or so. So you've been second spotter at some road courses. You've been hanging out. So you kind of knew the cadence and the rhythm of what a Cup weekend looked like, right? Or what the prep looked like on a competition meeting level, on a sim level. But was there anything this week leading up to it, or I guess just you've had how long to prepare for this COTA specifically, that you didn't anticipate going into the weekend?
Man, that's honestly one of the things that I was kind of shocked by. Nothing this week came out and surprised me. The only thing that I can say that I was like, man, this is pretty crazy, is how competitive the 20th to 35th place, it's Xfinity Series, they just point you by. The daughter cars, those guys, they know they're not going to hold you up, so they point you by. But you're racing for 25th, and I went back to the back in stage 2 and started from the back, and I'm racing up through the field, and I'm like, man, this is just, it's not easy. And I admire that about it. It's pretty incredible that there's 30 plus cars that are all really competitive, and definitely learned a lot racing against some of those guys. Joey was running back there, and Denny was back there. A lot of those guys that I was kind of coming through the field and passing, I learned a lot just kind of seeing how they manage it, and when they give up and when they try and block and defend. So I learned a lot from it, but it was cool to see that.
So it sounds like you didn't set any expectation for Sunday or what your future races might be this year. Hopefully there's many. But I'm sure there's some expectations on Saturdays, and what your goal is probably to hoist the big trophy in November, I'd imagine. So what have you and Marty Lindley, your crew chief on that 88 car, set out to achieve this year?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to have a shot at it in Phoenix. You want to put yourself in a position where you're in the Final Four and have a chance to race for a championship. And, we got that started off on the right foot this weekend, getting a win, getting some playoff points. But at all the road courses, it is we show up and for me, I don't like to put expectations and set expectations for myself. But, driving a junior motorsports car, given my background, like I don't feel like there's a road course that we go to where I'll be like, I don't think I have a shot to win this. So it's gonna be tougher when Shane's racing and he's gonna be in identical equipment to me, but still I feel like I'll be able to at least put up a good fight and have a shot to win. So those are gonna be really good for us. But come playoff time, there's only one in the playoffs, and I think it's in the round of 12 Roval. So it's a little bit different. And I feel like on the ovals we're going to be really competitive. I got 2 top 5s of my 3 oval starts last year. Obviously Daytona and Atlanta, and I wrecked out of both of those. But I feel like we're going to have some really good speed, and I like Marty a lot. He's old school racer and really smart. So I'm excited to work with him, and it's going to take some time, I'm sure, getting up to speed and learning what him learning what I want out of the car. But with that, I think we're going to, by the time playoffs come around, be successful.
There's probably not a short track that he doesn't think he can go to as a crew chief and win, right? Marty Lindley, great short track racer. His dad, Butch, was probably one of the best short track racers of all time. So I think that's a dangerous pairing with you two, because you can both kind of lean on each other. And like you said, he can help you get stronger through the ovals, and you can probably help him get stronger as a crew chief.
Seems like two guys that come from road course backgrounds acclimate faster to a short track. I think AJ Allmendinger in like a Martinsville or a Richmond, where you have to be really sensitive to the brake pedal. Have you run many Xfinity cars on a short track yet?
No, I haven't done any Xfinity short track races. So our first one's Martinsville, but I'm really excited for it. I ran the truck, but we struggled with the truck.
Dude, I'll go back further. That car store race at Hickory that you won.
Yeah.
Scrap.
I know. When
awesome.
my car was good in that stuff, we were fast, but that stuff is so hit or miss. Like, you'll show up to the track one week and it'll be like, man, this thing's really good. And then we went back to Hickory 4 months later with the exact same setup, the same car, and I was like, this thing is horrible. I had a lot of fun racing that stuff, and I like short track racing, so I'm excited to get to Martinsville and see what the Xfinity car is like there. But I do think that road racers are better at short tracks because we use the brake a lot more, and we understand how to use the brake to help manipulate the car, and I'm excited to see how I'm able to do it those places.
What's your interest level on the Indy 500?
Very high. I'd love to do it. I mean, it's such a cool event, and get to do the double. I definitely want to do that within the next 5-10 years, and I think with Justin being a team owner, I feel like he's the kind of guy who's not going to say no to it. So hopefully, I haven't even talked about it, but that's definitely something I want to work towards.
Do you think we get to a point where there's like 5 guys doing the double, one way or the other?
Well, they'd save on jet fuel.
That's like, I feel like
yeah.
I feel like it's trending there because everybody's interest is peaked in it too, especially from like Scotty or Joe's, like those guys on the other side want to do it the other way.
Come this way. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day, buddy, but I want you to get a bit of rest. What's your post-race kind of debrief looks like? Do you sit in all those comp meetings at Trackhouse, or do you do your junior motorsports stuff? What's life in Connor Zilisch? A lot of naps, I see.
Yeah.
Is that why you did the night selling?
Yeah,
on the roof?
It wasn't a Steph Curry thing. It
No,
wasn't a cocky thing.
You know what? I just won this race. Let me take a
that
nap
what
real
you
quick.
Yeah.
Oh,
on
boy.
the car. It was just because I sleep a lot.
Now, why do you have to sleep so much? I think
That's
Dale
what
Jr. had a legitimate
I know
question.
Dale jumped in on that. I don't know. The one thing I doom scroll, and I'll be up until 1 a.m. and I look at my phone. I think it's 10 o'clock, and next thing you know, it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm on TikTok, brain rotting myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably one of the bad parts is I stay up way too late on TikTok or whatever reels. And next thing I know, I wake up at 7 a.m. and by 3 o'clock, I'm like, man, I gotta sleep. But it's kind of just, I don't know. I've always been a sleeper, but
don't let Dale Jr. bully you, man. There was a general consensus that he was always sleeping. And
I know. That's
and
what I
Tony
thought.
were like Missed 9 o'clock practices.
Well, Steve Tart's got a great story. When he was helping us out getting going at Spire, he's got his plethora of Dale Jr. stories, right? But he was like, I had to start making Junior get to the truck an hour before practice. It didn't matter if it was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon but the reason was because I wanted to make sure he was awake an hour before practice to at least just get his blood flowing. He said he'd roll out, get right in the car
wake up
from doom scroll and then rifle off in Vegas at 200 miles an hour. Well, Connor, the future's bright, buddy. So how do you just, I guess the analogy of like real world, just not doom scroll, because there's going to be so many people wanting to be attached to your and take a little bit of credit for and just like ride the coattails a bit. How do you keep the circle small of your trusted compadres to ultimately continue to work towards those goals you set up?
Yeah, small circle is so important. You only trust a small certain amount of people with what you want to tell them, and I think that's one of the most important things. And Max Pappas, he's one of the key people who tells me that all the time. Is just remember, keep your circle small and
be a lion. That's one of the best, dude. Be a lion.
Max. But yeah, definitely keep your circle small and only trust certain people. And stay out of trouble. I mean, at a young age, it's tough. I mean, on the racetrack, off the racetrack, just try and be successful quietly. And as much noise as there's going to be around you, you just got to, keep doing your thing and pretend it's not there, because there's going to be days where you go out and win and smoke everybody and they're going to be talking good. And then the next week you go wreck and they're going to say you suck. So no matter what, you kind of just got to ignore it all and, not let it get to you, good or bad.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Connor Zilisch right here in the Nonsense Garage. Congrats on the Xfinity win. Great job in your Cup debut. There's going to be many more to come. Follow this kid's journey. Where are they going to find you? Connor Zilisch.
Yeah, everywhere. All of them. Yep.
TikTok.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, I'm on TikTok, unfortunately.
MySpace. You don't even know what MySpace is.
That's before my time.
You weren't even born then.
The kids have Facebook nowadays?
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I actually like Facebook. I like keeping up
there
with
for the
old
marketplace.
Marketplace?
Yeah, the old marketplace.
You said like keeping up with the old folks? That you said, damn.
That is
triggered.
I'm triggered. That's all I got, buddy. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Good luck Phoenix this week.
Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It was fun talking to our buddy Connor right here in the studio. What'd you think, buddy?
First time I ever met him, man. I'm super impressed with what he's able to do and his composure. It's a pretty high-level guy. You can tell talking to him that he's going to have a long, successful career, and wish him nothing but the best. But I hope we don't plan on beating that 12 car anytime soon.
Well, he passed him.
Didn't beat us,
yesterday.
though.
He didn't
Still
beat
finished
you.
from him.
Well, if you guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in each and every week. Your eyeballs and your ear holes are much appreciated. NASCAR on Tubi or YouTube or SiriusXM Channel 90 or wherever you find your podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stag and Pennies Quarterly Joy alongside Ryan Flores. Each and every week, tune in to Spare Change as well. Going to Phoenix this weekend. Buckle up.